This is the Rich Dad Radio Show. The good news and bad news about money. Here's Robert Kiyosaki.
Hello. Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Radio Show. The good news and Doomberg words about money. Today we have a very special guest because it is about gloom and doom, but also out of doom and gloom comes opportunity. And I'm very impressed with this Doomberg character here. I mean, he is kicking ass all over this category of precious metals and forecasting and macro. So our guest today is Doomberg. We're going to find out why you should be worried. And just to back up what he's going to say today, just came today. It's The Economist, and it talks about big, green, and mean, how Joe Biden's plan to rake is how to remake America's economy. So Joe Biden is more than Joe Biden, but what Doomberg and I, many people agree on, we're screwed. We're in big trouble. But the good news is, that's good news and bad news. The bad news is we're in trouble financially as an economy, world economy. The good news is there's more opportunity. So when a balloon goes up, it also comes down, and the balloon is coming down right now. So with that, welcome to the Rich Dad Radio Show, Mr. Doomberg, but you're not Doomsberg, right? It's just Doomberg.
Just Doomberg, Robert. Great to be here. Big fan. I was talking to you a bit before we came on the air about how I first read your book in the late 90s, made a big impact on me. And the thought back then of actually being on a podcast with you now as an animated green chicken. I mean, what if you'd had the odds on that? I'd have taken it and you would have won the lottery. But as you said, we are Doomberg. At our core, we are very optimistic. The name Doomberg is kind of a play on words. It is a doomy time, but with doom comes opportunity, as we have shown. And it is a fascinating time to be writing about macro, about energy, about crypto, about gold and silver, and about financial freedom. And one of the great things we've done with building Doomberg is we've included our audience along the journey, and we've built this business with nothing but a couple of keyboards, and it's been a real fantastic journey.
Well, what Einstein says, if you ever come to our office, we have a bust of Einstein there. We have what's called a genius room. I think Apple has a genius bar. We have a genius room, and it's a genius room dedicated to entrepreneurs who kick ass. Like we have Henry Ford and those characters in there. But Einstein is in there, and his quote that I love from Einstein is, imagination is more important than knowledge. And what you're telling me is you're using your imagination with Doomberg character, and you were in school at the time gaining knowledge, but your imagination's actually carried you to Doomberg. So congratulations, you're following Einstein's plan.
Well, I'll send you a Doomberg mug and you can put it in the genius room, or perhaps a bottle opener if that's more your persuasion. But no, it's really, it is a fantastic thing that even today, with all of the red tape and bureaucracy and polarization in the country, you can still build a business from scratch. We've spent almost nothing building Doomberg. It's all been sweat equity. It scales, as you know, the content creation business. It can be fantastic if you can create a character that catches fire. We happen to have been able to do that, and we observe all manner of content creators love your stuff. And really, again, as I said when I first opened up, it was a real pleasure. Unbelievable to be here, actually.
What's kind of funny is as we're talking, this show is being recorded, but by the time it's played, Sarah and I are handling a major emergency right now. I was teaching at Arizona State University, their honors program, the smartest kid in the universe. And all summer long, I taught them. They loved it. They had a great time. And then so there was a request that we do kind of a similar event for the whole school, and it's at the what they call the Gamage Auditorium, and I didn't control that, and it was somebody's good idea. And they have myself and Dennis Prager, and they have Charlie Kirk, who is another creative character out there. He's, I wrote this book here. It's my first book before Rich Dad Poor Dad. It says, if you want to be rich and happy, don't go to school. and they're pounding me. They're pounding us, right, Sarah?
That's right. We're expecting lots of protesters tomorrow.
And the protest are from the teachers.
Yeah, the college campuses. I was my oldest child is off to college next year, and sat him down a couple of weeks ago and said, whatever happens when you go to college, do not allow them to teach you to hate your parents. I just, we tried our best. We got you here. Straight teeth and a college education. That's what we offered you. That's what we're delivering. Don't let them tell you any different about who we are and how we built our lives. And
yeah. And I didn't say college education is not important. I said it won't make you rich and happy.
Sure.
And there's a difference, you know what I mean? Because my poor dad was a college professor. He was a teacher at not Arizona State, but University of Hawaii. And that poor guy, smart, PhD, did grad work at schools like Stanford, University of Chicago, and Northwestern, and he was still poor. And so I'm a kid going, the guy's going to school all the time, but he's still poor. What's wrong with this picture?
It's funny because I decided to go away from academia and into industry in large part because of your book. And I decided that I would go into industry, make enough money, and then start my own business eventually. Invest in assets as your book correctly educates, and we've been able to do that. And so it's a very similar journey, perhaps to your father. PhD myself. So
enough about those losers in education. They're pounding. They expect protests and riots and all this stuff. It's kind of funny, Doomberg, because in many ways I'm going home to the start of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I'm pissing off Poor Dad again, because when I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, my family got so pissed at me because they're all academics. They're all A students. And I'm sure you were too, but I wasn't. So I'm just getting even. But anyway, let's get on with the economy now. This here, this is The Economist. And this is this week. It's February 11th, 2023. It says Joe Biden's plan to remake the economy. And in my opinion, Joe Biden and the liberal left, these academic types, are destroying the economy more than any person. They can blame the Fed, they can blame this, but these commie pinko Biden family, crime family, what they did, the first thing they did, Doomberg, is my degree is in ocean transportation, oil. I'm an oil expert. So 1965, I went to school in New York for this book, and I studied this book here, The Communist Manifesto. I was 18 years old in 1965, and I read the Communist Manifesto because it's a military school. And the military was teaching us about communism because you must know your enemy. And then what happened is they sent me to Vietnam in 1966. And all this is going on. I'm going, what the heck is going on? It's communism. But when I read this book here, and this is what pisses people off too, is I realized they were talking about my family. These guys believe in communism. They're Marxists, not bad people, get me wrong. Like you can be a Christian, you can be a Muslim. Doesn't mean you're a bad person. It's a different philosophy. So this Green New Deal stuff is killing us. Because I'm an oil guy, in 2000, the first thing that Biden did was cut off the Keystone XL pipeline. The moment he did that, I said, I know what he's doing immediately. They're going to kill the middle class with inflation. And so that's why what you're saying, what I'm saying, is one way to hedge against what the greenies are doing is gold, silver, Bitcoin. You got to do something that's real because our money is fake. What do you have to say, Doomberg?
Well, I would say that Fake is the title of a fantastic book that I've begun to read in preparation for today's podcast. But also I would say that it's one thing to have central planning, which the Inflation Reduction Act essentially imposes upon our energy sector. It's another to have central planning where you're choosing basically all of the wrong answers at the beginning. And what it really comes down to is a deep failure of understanding of energy amongst our political leaders. And they believe that there's a perpetual motion machine in play where you can get energy for free and then create energy for free without ever having to put the T equals zero investment up front. And the Green New Deal or the Inflation Reduction Act, which is the most Orwellianly named piece of legislation ever come out of Washington, D.C., it focuses on low entropy sources of energy that have extended energy payback periods, which means you have to put an enormous amount of energy up front And since we're already in an energy shortage, although we have certainly backed off the sort of peak of the crisis here in the past few months, thankfully, where is that incremental T equals zero energy investment to create solar and wind going to come from? And if it takes you 5 years or 8 years of time to pay back the energy that you need up front to build your solar panel or to build your wind turbines, that energy comes from fossil fuels. And so there's sort of this circular argument around we need to stop drilling for fossil fuels and at the same time take an enormous amount of energy to create machines that only pay back a very slight amount of energy over time. And so ultimately, it is going to be a giant waste of money. There will be grift and there will be opportunities and there will be, selling shovels to miners who are all going to lose money in a gold rush is still a great business. And there will be businesses to be created as a consequence of this legislation, but it's going to fail. And so,
but the thing is, the reason I'm very, very bullish on silver, I had a whole company, Andy Scheckman did a talk to our company and he was talking about what happened, with Saudi Arabia when they abandoned, they abandoned us. What's that country? Afghanistan. Those communists abandoned us, the Biden family. They cut off oil, then they abandoned us in Afghanistan. And what Andy Scheckman says on a macro level is that at that moment, Russia and Saudi Arabia joined forces. And this goes against because the dollar is petrodollars, as you know. And the moment they did that, we lost our energy supply. Inflation is going to go through the roof. Inflation's a tax. And it's going to kill the middle class. It's a tax they can't fight. At least I don't pay taxes, but I have to pay for inflation. But the whole thing here is this Green New Deal, the Biden crime family, they're killing the world. And so that's why, I've been a gold and silver bug. I've been a silver bug since 1964, the year that President Johnson, was it Johnson or I think
Johnson after Kennedy.
Johnson, he took the silver out of our coins, and then 71, that criminal Nixon. I'm not Republican or Democrat. You notice I'm pretty bisexual there when it comes to politics. But anyway, that Nixon took us off the gold standard, and that screwed the middle class also. But it led to this biggest boom. By printing money, it led to a boom, and that's that balloon sitting behind of us. That's the world economy, is this balloon. And right below it is you and me hanging from this balloon. And so, Doomberg, you and I are trying to warn people that balloon is coming down. And the question is, how do you save yourself? Am I pretty on target with you?
So I would say beyond Saudi Arabia and Russia, you have to include China and President Xi. And I would say that President Xi's latest visit to Saudi Arabia is one of the most important milestone events of sort of macroeconomic history. And a decade from now, when history will be written, it might be...
Doomberg, but you didn't answer my question. This was my show too. Are you concerned that balloon's coming down?
That this is the whole point. So with Xi going to Saudi Arabia, the move away from the petrodollar to the petro-yuan might be coming a lot faster than people think. And if you actually read what President Xi said when he left Saudi Arabia, if you read a speech, if you could go and find translated versions of it.
Doomberg, I understand that, but I want to know what the good news is, okay? You can go on this macro crap, which, I'll tell you something. I was at VRIC, Vancouver Resource Investment Council. Great show. If you're a hardcore metals person, you should be at VRIC. Jay Martin does a fantastic job. But I'm listening to all these experts yak away, and I have more gold and silver than they do. I have more gold and silver than you, I'll bet. So I don't just talk about the macro, is how many ounces of gold and silver do you have? And I'll prove it to you. This here is my gold mine from Utah, the richest gold mine in America, took it public, call sign ODV. And so what I'm tired of, Doomberg, is people just talking about the macro. Xi doesn't care what you and I say. Biden doesn't care what you and I say,
Yeah, I would say you have to play the pieces on the board. And my personal largest investment outside of our private, company investments is in fact in gold.
I know, but Biden, but Doomberg, I sit there, I was at VRIC, I listen to all these guys yak about the macro. My question is, show me the gold and silver. I just showed you my mine here. I have a silver mine in Argentina. So I put my money where my mouth is. And I think that's really the issue right now. So I really want you to explain to people as best you can, using the macro, but also the micro, what can mom and pop do? Because that balloon is coming down. All right. So that's really what I want to get into, because that's what you're good at.
Oh, no, you have to have a mindset and a plan. And like we have a philosophy, which is we earn in fiat because we live in the real world. We save by buying precious metals and land like gold and timber. And then we invest in businesses that cash flow. And that's the mindset. And no matter where you are in the economic ladder, if you begin by sort of earning more than you need and then saving in things like precious metals and investing selectively where you can create cash flow, then you'll be in a much better position than your neighbors to withstand whatever's coming, in the next 3 months or 3 years.
I understand, but now, how much gold are you buying silver coins at all?
I have a fair bit of silver coins in my safe just for the worst case scenario sort of prepper risk where you might want to do some barter. But when I do want to buy silver in size, I would usually probably invest in Sprott Physical Trust or their Gold Trust, which I think is a slightly better paper version of GLD and SLV, because it's very difficult for in my sort of net worth to buy kilograms of gold and keep it in my house.
Are you actually telling me that you invest in SLV and GLD?
No, I don't. I invest in Sprott's versions where you can actually stand for delivery.
I like Sprott. He's a good man. Good company.
Fizz, PHYS, and PSLV when I do want to express. That's the way that I do it.
Hey, Doomberg, the reason I show you all this stuff here, and I'm bullshitting you right now, is the people that watch Rich Dad Radio know they're in the balloon and they're in the gondola. And we're coming down hard. And so what you've been saying to people makes sense to me. Yes. But so many people are in ETFs or saving cash. And I don't save cash, if you've noticed. I save gold and silver. I use debt. I'm not saying everybody should do what I do because it's a little bit more sophisticated. But when we come back, I want you to talk to the people like you and me. We're not going to, Biden doesn't care what we think. This guy Putin sure doesn't care. The king of Saudi Arabia doesn't care. They're going to do what they have to do. And this guy Xi, he's emperor for life, he's a Chinese guy. And so my group, we're the guys in the little gondola hanging down there. And we need to know what we're going to do, because I think by now, anybody's watched Rich Dad Radio knows that balloon is coming down. So we come back. I want you to talk to guys like you and me, and don't say it takes a lot of money to invest in start a gold mine, because it doesn't. I don't have that reality. I'm an entrepreneur. I can do what I want to do. But anyway, it's really, I started this whole thing with education and how our schools tell us to go to school, get a job, work hard, save money, get out of debt. And invest in a 401k. So I'm going to ask you a tough question. How much money do you have in a 401k? Because not that it's wrong, but I want to find out your point of view on it, because we're talking to the average guy hanging in that little bucket there. Okay, so when we come back, you and I, because I trust your macro. Your macro's good. But I want to know what the little guy can do. So when we come back, going into what they can do. Okay, Doomberg?
You bet.
All right. So when we come back, we'll be going more to Doomberg. We're all hanging in that little bucket there. I'm with you in that thing. I just want to know what Doomberg doing. I'm telling you what I'm doing. Sarah's going to tell you what she's doing. And because that's what counts right now. Biden, Putin, and Xi, and the king of Saudi Arabia could care less what we think. We'll be right back.
Robert's been warning us for years, time after time after time, his golden rule: invest in real assets. That's how he didn't just survive the last period of catastrophic inflation. He thrived, turning his first property into a real estate empire of over 7,000. But with history possibly repeating itself, real estate is being crushed under the thumb of the Fed, and we could be on the verge of another historic crash. Combined with rising inflation, the landing may be even harder than last time. But according to BlackRock CEO Larry Fink, the largest asset manager in the world, there's one real asset that investors need to know about because of its resilience during times like these. Fink even calls it the new gold. He's talking about fine art. It makes sense. The last time inflation was this high, fine art handily outpaced it, appreciating an average 130%. Now fine art can be a part of your portfolio for a fraction of what billionaires like Fink pay. All thanks to Masterworks. It's the new tech platform that lets you invest in shares of paintings by Warhol, Picasso, and Banksy. Every single one of Masterworks' exits to date have delivered positive returns to their investors, with the last 3 delivering 10, 13, and 35% net. No wonder over 600,000 users have invested more than $500 million on Masterworks. Offerings have sold out in minutes, but you can skip the waitlist by going to masterworks.art/richdad. That's masterworks.art/richdad. See important disclosures at masterworks.com/CD. If you're concerned about high inflation, looming recession, a stock market correction, or out of control spending in Washington, this is an important message to hear. Because the fact is, during every major crisis in U.S. history, many of those who failed to prepare watched their savings, investments, or retirement funds go down, while many with the foresight to own gold helped preserve their purchasing power. Gold even made some folks richer. Now we're facing several major crises at once, and experts say we may soon face even more economic trouble. So please don't wait. Learn the simple way you can diversify with gold and put yourself on the road to financial peace of mind, even in uncertain times. The new free 2023 Gold Guide from our friends at Gold Alliance can show you how. Just visit www.freegoldguide.com/Robert or call 1-800-473-4585. Republican Governor and conservative commentator Mike Huckabee says Gold Alliance is the only gold provider he recommends to his friends and family. Find out why and visit freegoldguide.com/Robert or call now at 1-800-473-4585.
Feeling powerless over current events and your financial future? Financial freedom is your freedom. Robert Kiyosaki is the best-selling author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Over 40 million people have taken Robert's advice. Now it's your turn. Attend Robert's free virtual wealth building event. Claim your free access now at richdadfree.com. Don't wait, access is limited. Go to richdadfree.com. That's richdadfree.com.
Welcome back, Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Radio Show, the good news and bad news about money. And today we both have bad news and good news. But as you know, at Rich Dad, bad news can mean good news. And we have a great guest today, is Doomberg. I love this guy. He's so well respected for his macro. He is Mr. Big Picture. He's that balloon guy. He knows why the balloon's going up. He also knows why it's coming down. And so do anybody who's watched Rich Dad for a while and follow this. We also know that balloon's coming down. You know, it was a baby boom. I'm a baby boom. But the baby boom is going to turn into a baby bust. Their 401ks are going. And as this guy, Jay Powell, that crook, he's raising interest rates. It's killing the stock market. So the 401ks are coming down. Paper is coming down. So Doomberg is great. He's well respected for his big picture, his balloon technology. But I want to find out what you and me can do. So with that, Doomberg, what say you?
Yeah, so I can only tell you what we did, which was we started our own business where we figured out what it is that we love doing. We studied the market very carefully. We understood that we could offer a better product. One of our strong beliefs is that disciplined execution is still a durable moat. So you can work, like it costs nothing to start a blog. The barrier to entry to starting a blog like Doomberg is zero. The barrier to success is high. And one of our philosophical heroes, Coach Vince Lombardi from the Green Bay Packers back in the 60s, he has a famous quote which says, "Find out what the price is and pay it." And so when we started Doomberg, we had a crazy goal that we will be the most successful finance Substack in the world. And we broke that goal down into bites and bites and bites and bites until we got to something we could do today. And we show up every single day. What can we do today to push ourselves forward towards that goal? And the single most important thing that I would give as advice for people listening is, if you're going to build a business, the most important thing you must have is a rigorous, maniacal mindset of continuous improvement. Every day, measure your data, what worked, what didn't work, what could we do better, what did we screw up? And then you reinvest that knowledge into your own business where you own the equity, where success is harvested by you. And we've created a business where, while we're still required to run it, it scales with no incremental effort. And as we keep growing, which, knock on wood, we hope to continue doing in 2023, all of that benefit, all of that hard work, all of that knowledge, all of that continuous improvement mindset accrues to our families on a go-forward basis.
So Doomberg, are you making a lot of money as Doomberg?
We have stopped doing everything else we were doing before Doomberg, for sure. And
well, I really congratulate you, because I think you're, like you said, you're just a white guy, but as a chicken, you make more money. I think, as I was talking about VRIC, Vancouver Real Estate Investment Conference, there were a lot of these white guys, talking numbers and all this stuff. And I thought it was great. They're all entrepreneurs. Jay Martin does a great job up there. If you want to know what entrepreneurship is, go to VRIC and talk to all those guys pitching their gold mines. Because Doomberg, the reason I know so much about gold is 20 years ago, I was one of those guys pitching a gold mine at VRIC. I learned more about business starting a gold mine because it's a tough business.
Oh,
that's why I have so much respect for gold and silver, because it's a tough asset class.
But you didn't wake up knowing about gold mines. You went and started reading about it, went to conferences, started learning about it, learned things, made some mistakes, had some errors, had some successes, thought about why those successes worked, and then reinvested all of that knowledge into ultimately building something successful. And when you go to VRIC, and I had some friends there, I couldn't make it this year, but I know some very, very, very successful people in the mining industry. It's a very tough industry.
Oh, God, it's tough.
But it rewards people who are willing to risk capital, work hard, maybe get a little bit lucky, but when you get luck, know that you have to harvest it. And I commend people that gold mining is low margin. People think, like, one of the things I joke about is, you watch shows like Gold Rush. They always talk about how much gold you've created. Oh, that's 1 million worth of gold. Yeah, but if it costs you 1.2 million in expenses to get it, it's a $200,000 hole. And so the one thing about a mining business, and Bitcoin miners find this out as well, of course, is you have to earn more in gold that you can then, of course,
Amen, brother.
Convert into fiat to pay your expenses and have some profit left over that maybe you keep in gold, or maybe you invest in an apartment building or something else down the road. But gold is not just free money lying in the ground, and the quality of your deposits, the chemistry of extracting it, and the diesel fuel to move all of that rock. These are all just sort of the standard things that any business owner confronts. And I would say, again, no matter what business you're in, if you own the business and you have a rigorous mindset of continuous improvement, and you can survive the blows that come from starting a business. And they come, believe me, like when we started our business before Doomberg, which we've since put on runoff to do Doomberg full time, we had our ups and downs. We lost 85% of our business when COVID hit, and we had a real dilemma. Like, do we go back and try to get a job, or do we double down on ourselves and reinvest in ourselves? And we decided to reinvest in ourselves and to break into the content creator space. And it's the American dream. We have to your question about Doomberg, we wrote a piece describing the fact that we have achieved way more than we need, and we will not succumb to the disease of more. We will keep doing what we love doing. We will set up our families to the best of our abilities, but we also have a limited amount of time on this planet, and we intend to savor the success of Doomberg, which is, by the way, built completely on all of our subscribers. We are 100% subscriber supported, true free market capitalism in the sense that we are literally just surfing the sea of abundance provided by our readers. And if we weren't delighting them with our work, we would not have that privilege. And so every subscriber is precious. We work hard to find them, to entice them, to delight them, so that we can keep them.
Okay. That's enough of pitch. My question to you is this. Okay. I mean, no, I understand what you're doing. You're a pitch man. You're very good. That's why I say, dressing up as a chicken is a really great idea because it gets attention, and it's smart, and your macro, and the average guy is not going to start a business. Most people are employees. So like Sarah's an employee of our company. Do you buy gold and silver, Sarah?
Yeah. Yep.
Do you have real estate?
Yeah, that's my passion. That's where I have most of my money.
Yeah. So, Doomberg, our job is to help people like you and me, not Biden or Xi or Putin. Other question I have is, what do you think of crypto and FTX, what all that stuff that happened?
So I would partition digital assets into two classes, Bitcoin and everything else. And I currently don't own any Bitcoin, but I'm interested in the technology. And I could be induced to buy it at the right price. But I think crypto, at least in this first generation, is nothing more than a giant Ponzi scheme. And where the sophisticated have fleeced the unsophisticated. And all of this is going to be rolled up. And I think, unfortunately, one of the negative consequences of it is we could see pretty substantial regulation that bridges towards central bank digital currencies, which I think it would rip away the last vestiges of privacy, and they need to be opposed vehemently.
Good. And I own crypto. I own Bitcoin, only a small amount. It went to 20,000, but because I studied technical analysis, and went to 20,000, went down to almost zero. Then went back to 1, 2, 3, and I kept waiting. I was waiting for the to keep crashing. So when it hit 6, I backed up the truck and bought some. Okay. So that's everybody can study a little technical analysis because it does help.
Well, what's funny is I caught a lot of crap from the Bitcoin maxi crowd I was on a Bitcoin podcast where I said, I don't yet have Bitcoin, but if it got back down to 5 to 6 where you bought, I would be an interested buyer. And I got so much crap on Twitter from these people because they, look at it, it's at 24, you missed your price, dummy. Have fun staying poor. And so, but it's just kind of fun. But if it does get back to that price where you bought, I'd be backing up the truck too.
Heck, if it gets down to like 8, I'm backing up the truck. Do you know what I mean? But a better question, because like I said, you're respected for your macro. Your macro is really good. And what's going on, you know why that balloon is floating. But the question is, people just want to know what, like I love silver because in my opinion, silver is cheap right now. You can buy it for $30. You can buy a silver eagle for about $30. So everybody wants to know, what's your forecast on silver? What do a silver eagle right now is, let's say $30. Every loser in the world can afford them, but they won't do it. So I kind of encourage people to buy silver just so they get started, so the brain starts to work. Well, what is this thing?
So the feeling of holding an actual silver or gold coin in your hand is something that is visceral and that needs to be experienced. Now, on silver versus gold, silver is actually a bet on the idiocy of the Green New Deal, in a way. Because unlike gold, there are substantial industrial uses for silver in addition to its historical role as coinage. And the number one industrial use for silver is in the production of solar panels. And so if you are worried about the Green New Deal going a little bit too far, a nice sort of a double hedge in owning silver is you're also levered to the upside demand story that the industrial use of silver in the production of silicon, of polysilicon panel, those solar panels that are coming out of China predominantly have an enormous amount of silver in them, relatively speaking. And so if that doubles or triples, you're getting sort of industrial demand, as well as your sort of hedge against the dropping of the balloon that you
okay, get out of the macro for a while. I own a lot of silver eagles, and sure. I own gold eagles. And this is silver. It's a Doré bar from my silver mine in Argentina. Okay. So tell me, not too many people have a Doré bar from their mine in Argentina, but I have everybody can afford a silver eagle, silver eagle. What do you predict? So here it is. We're February 2023, 1 year from now, 2024. If somebody puts $35 down and buys an eagle, silver eagle, what do you think the price of silver will be?
I don't want to vacillate here. But I would say I would be let's just put it this way. I am bullish on precious metals. Silver Eagle, of course, sells at a premium to the metal, and those types of the premium grows and shrinks over time. I have a view that I invest a certain amount of my savings into gold and silver on a steady basis, so I dollar cost average in. So a year from now, whatever the price of silver is, if it's up, that means the silver I've already bought is worth more. And if it's down, I'm getting more silver for the incremental dollar that I save by putting it into silver and gold. That's the best answer I can give you. Because to me, if it goes down, I get to buy more. If it goes up, the stuff I already have is worth more and I'm happy.
Hey, Doomberg, I understand, but you're respected for your macro. You're slipping with a trading answer. Obviously when it goes down, like Rick Rule, he says he's a gold and silver guy, but he says when gold and silver goes down, he gets happy because he buys more. Correct. You and I are in the same camp.
Yes.
But the reason is because we understand the macro. We understand what's going on to keep that balloon floating up there. And I think the balloon's coming down. So I just ask you a simple question. Take a freaking guess. What do you think silver will be in February 2024? If you can buy a silver eagle for, let's say, $30 today, what do you expect to pay in February 2024?
I would be surprised if it was less than 40, and I would be surprised if gold is less than $2,400 an ounce. My honest opinion is that we're going to have serious moves away from the petrodollar in 2023.
Amen.
And as a consequence of that, it has to be, especially if they move towards settling, international trade balances in gold or a basket of commodities that might include silver. There's not the sort of total market cap of gold is not large enough to participate in that role, and you would see a revaluation of gold and silver. Of course, I should say, with a full disclaimer, I'm perennially bullish on precious metals because it's Doomberg and Chicken Little, the sky is falling. If the sky falls in 2023, then of course we could be wildly wrong in the sense that it could be worth way more. But I am more in the Rick Rule camp in the sense that I'm price agnostic, because if it goes down, I just buy more. To me, precious metals like gold and silver, this is my honest answer. And the few collectibles that I know about that I can save and invest in wisely when the prices oscillate. These are things I plan to hand to my children someday. So here's how I view it. The 20 ounces, 20 silver or 20 gold eagles buys you a mid-sized SUV today. In 20 years,
it's
going to buy you
$20,000.
It's about $40,000. Yeah, 20 gold eagles, $40,000 buys you a mid-size. Buys you a mid-size SUV today. A RAV4, Toyota RAV4, well decked out. In 20 years, if I give those 20 gold eagles to my son, he will be able to afford a mid-size SUV. That's the way that I view the gold in my safe.
You're a pessimist.
I am a defensive pessimist, actually, which is a psychological, not disease, affliction that where you have to ponder the worst case scenarios, abate them, and then you feel good that you can take risks.
Right.
So I do worry about worst case scenarios. I'm a prepper. I have food in my home. I have the ability to procure more. I own land. I own timber. I own productive real estate. But also I started my own business. It takes a lot of courage to start your own business. Put yourself
You're an entrepreneur, Doomberg.
I'm an entrepreneur. And the biggest way the quickest way to get rich is to get equity in an enterprise that grows fast. I mean, that's just the way the world works. And so if you could get in on the ground floor, either something you create or something that you can invest alongside of somebody that you trust who is a good entrepreneur,
right.
And that person delivers, you can compound wealth very, very quickly, much, much faster than you could save with a salary and invest in.
Well, anyway, we're out of time, but I want to thank you for your macro view and your intermediate strategy, what you're doing. And like I always say at Rich Dad Radio, if you agree with me, you're intelligent. And if you don't agree with me, you're an idiot, but you're obviously very intelligent. Because the point I want to make, Doomberg, is the macro. And knowing the macro gives you the view which way that balloon is going. But it also gives you more certainty on what you buy, sell, and what you do. So I want to thank you for teaching all of your audience out there. It's fantastic, and keep up the good work. I think it's so creative to have a green chicken running around. I didn't see you at VRIC, but I tell you what, if I was in Vancouver and I saw a green chicken around, I'd eat it.
It's been great. It's been great, Rob. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Doomberg. And we come back, we'll be final words with Sarah. We'll be right back. Welcome back, Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Radio Show. The good news and bad news about money. I want to thank Doomberg for being a part of it. And the one reason we had him on here is because he is so tuned in to the macro. And again, macro is, why is that balloon? That's a world economy floating. But you and I are sitting in that little gondola down there. And in my opinion, in his opinion, that world economy is coming down right now. And a lot of it has to do because the baby boom generation is now going baby bust. And as they keep raising interest rates, the stock market comes down. That's my opinion. It's coming down. But the 401ks and pensions are gone. So my generation is toast. The boomers are toast right now. So we invited Doomberg on for one reason. The guy is great at macro. He understands it. But that macro also gives him the ability to make decisions in the micro. And as I said at the start, is that when I was at VRIC, which is a great conference because they're all little entrepreneurs. You see, on the fast track out there, those are little entrepreneurs out there. They're building their businesses. Most people are stuck in the rat race, and that's what we did this in 1996. So people are stuck in this rat race. They want to know how to get out, and one way we get out is by being entrepreneurs. Not too many people do it. I don't recommend it. It's a tough game. But we have Sarah on board, and everyone in the company is not required, but we encourage you guys to start your own businesses and invest in gold and silver and all that, and real estate, right?
Mm-hmm, that's right.
What did you think of what Doomberg said?
You know, he is so respected in the macro. Like he mentioned, he has the #1 Substack on finance. But it was interesting to hear his strategy. I hope people go back and listen, because if they listen, he's doing exactly what we teach in the cash flow board game. It's exactly. Yeah. It's kind of crazy to hear it played out in real life. I mean, I know you do it. You're Robert Kiyosaki, of course, but to hear somebody like Doomberg do that as well, it's like, okay, then that's the formula that works.
Yeah.
I thought that was so cool. That was my favorite part.
Oh,
Other than seeing him as a green chicken. I mean, I could hardly stare at the screen because I'm just watching this green chicken blink at me. But I think that's super creative. But that was my favorite part, was to hear his real life kind of investment strategy.
He's very creative as an entrepreneur. You know, I mean, when I was at VRIC, everybody should go to that conference next year. They talk about holding it in Scottsdale because it's better than, well, the weather is better in Scottsdale in January than in Vancouver.
Yeah.
And Jay Martin's a smart boy and it's a fantastic event. But I'm up there listening to all of these guys like this, yakking away about the macro. And my question is, show me the money. You know, this here is the richest deposit of gold in America. And because I'm a fast tracker, I'm not stuck in the rat race. I'm outside there. So we took this company public through the New York Stock Exchange. So I'm not against stocks. I just don't like buying somebody else's stock. I want you to buy my stocks, right? I mean, that's the rich dad formula.
Yep.
But all these guys yakking, I want to know how much gold they got. And I keep this on my desk here because this is a Doré bar. This is rude silver coming out of my mine from Argentina. That's how much I believe in this stuff. And it all started, Sarah, 1964, when I was looking at a little silver coin, you know, $quarter, $half, and a dime. It was copper.
Mm-hmm.
And if you pick up a Canadian coin, not to pick on the Canadians, but their coin isn't even copper. I think it's aluminum. So our money has gotten so fake, and everybody's working for fake money. That's why I wrote this book, Fake Money, Fake Teachers, and Fake Assets. You know, your house is not an asset. Boy, I got pounded for that one. All the real estate guys hated me for that one. But you have real estate now, right?
That's right. That was the asset that interested me the most.
How's it going?
Learning a ton.
Yeah.
It is producing cash flow, which is great. I mean, who would have thought a year later? I was just telling you, it was this time last year we were there rehabbing, making it all beautiful, getting ready to rent. And we've had renters since we opened the doors in May. We got lucky with renters over the winter. in northern Indiana. So it's going good. It's crazy because people talk about the real estate bug. You get the bug, you want to buy another. And it is 100% true. Every day I'm looking for that new opportunity. Yeah. And I know that you know, now if you listen to like Kenny McElroy, he's like, interest rates are too high. Like if you listen to, you know, to the experts, they're saying don't buy right now. But I cannot help myself but look. I am looking for opportunity. I'm looking for that next deal. And it may not be right now, but at least I feel like I'm looking. I can evaluate the numbers, and the numbers are true. You know, it does come out true. Now is not the time to buy, but at least I'm looking. And I feel like that's the important thing is I'm just learning. I'm learning everything. So, and
then that's a perfect segue into this is before Rich Dad, Poor Dad. If you want to be rich and happy. So today, this is February 6th or 7th, 2023. And the school teachers at Arizona State, you know, they're picketing me. The paper has called them a bunch of commies. 37 commies signed a petition against me. And it's the whole story of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. My poor dad was a college professor, and they don't know anything about money, and it pisses them off. You know, as the old Chinese proverb goes, the reason they're attacking me in the press, and Dennis Prager and Charlie Kirk and Radical Pollen, is because they're academics like my poor dad, and they think the most important thing is our college degree. You know, and it is important. I have a college degree. I don't use it, but as I always say at Rich Dad, I always say on the Rich Dad radio show, my banker's never asked me for my report card yet. My banker wants to see my financial statement. My banker wants to know how well I play that game in real life. That's what they want to know. But your GPA and all that. So I'm going to be at Gamage Auditorium tomorrow night, ASU. We're being picketed. And I think that's interesting because it's the academics who are telling the students that we're con men and crooks. And I personally think it's the academics with the con men and crook, which is why I wrote, if you want to be rich and happy, don't go to school, which led to Rich Dad, Poor Dad. But it's different values. So like the thing I'm happy about you, Sarah, is you have the capitalist bug now. It's a game. You're just playing Monopoly, aren't you?
Yeah. Yep. Where can I take the cash out of this to buy my next one?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you have silver?
Yes. Not a lot. Silver to me, I don't know. There's guys in this office, you know who they are. They love that silver. They bought a ton of that silver. They love it. And I know I get it. It's not a thing I'm like totally into, but I do agree. It's something you should have for sure. For sure. Yeah.
Let me give one more lesson. The reason I like gold and silver is because of liquidity versus real estate's not liquid. So if this market crashes, like that balloon is saying, you can't get out of real estate. But if the market crashes, it'll probably send gold and silver up, but I can get out of gold and silver like that. So that's liquidity.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. That's something that I overlook all the time.
Yeah. And you can hold cash. But the trouble with cash is they're printing more of it. You know, fake. It's fake money. And that's why I wrote this book here.
Yeah.
But this is the big thing right now. I wrote this book here, Prophecy, Why the Biggest Stock Market Crash in History is Still Coming. This is 2023. I believe it's here now. And that's my concern with everything. Mm-hmm. You know, it's a big one. And everybody's going to get wiped out are the people who bought, like my poor dad, have a pension. You know, the biggest people with pensions are school teachers. So they don't like me because of this either, because I'm saying your pension is going down. And they go, oh, how do you say that? And I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying, what if it goes down? So that's why I like Doomberg, because he studies both macro, but it affects what we do. And then you guys at Rich Dad, all you hear is macro and micro from me, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think it's interesting because you just, you ask the question, what if? You have 401k, who knows if it'll ever actually, go away, but you ask the question, what if? What are you going to do? So anyway, that's Doomberg, he called himself a defensive pessimist, that he's always prepared. He's a prepper. He's always prepared for the worst case scenario. And that's true, though. I mean, you got to be. So anyway. Anyway, it was a great show. Interesting to have him on.
And I asked the question again, when I was at VRIC, everybody should go to it next year. Jay Martin does a great job, but you'll see true entrepreneurs. And that's those guys on the fast track. I mean, they are hardcore. I mean, I was one of those guys 20 years ago, standing and pitching my deal. The problem was I did find gold. I did take the company public in Toronto on the Toronto Stock Exchange. And guess who took it? The Chinese. And nationalized my gold mine. So as smart as I was, I still didn't think the Chinese were that dastardly. And just this week, they shot down that spy balloon. And the Chinese I'm not against Chinese. Oh, you're a racist. You're an Asian racist. Well, I'm an Asian also. But they shot down that spy balloon. And I wonder why it took Biden 7 days to shoot it down.
Yeah.
I mean, what if it was a rocket? Maybe his son Biden was on. Maybe Hunter is part of that balloon. You never know these days.
Yep.
So anyway, I'm not a politician, as you can tell. I'm not a teacher. I'm just an ordinary guy who likes gold, silver. I love entrepreneurship. And I thank Doomberg for being on. He knows his stuff, but I really want to get behind him. He's certain of what he's doing because he knows the macro. And that's why you should follow his show. Final word, Sarah.
No, I just appreciated the conversation. And you can learn more from Doomberg by visiting his Substack at doomberg.substack.com.
Yep. And then last week we had that Howley guy, Wagner or something.
Gary Wagner. And their prediction for gold's almost identical. Doomberg said no lower than 2,400 and Gary said 2,500. So there you go.
Yeah. And Gary Wagner is a white guy. Looks like he's Japanese with all these swords behind him. And then all these guys are calling us racist. No, we just enjoy what we do. So all of you have a good time. It's an exciting time. If the economy goes down, you can still get very rich. Just takes education they don't teach you about in school. Thank you for watching the Rich Dad Radio Show.